All set.
Okay, good evening, everybody. I'd like to call to order the October 10th, 2024 Norwalk Public Library Board of Directors meeting. In attendance, we have Ralph Bloom, Mary Mann, Patsy Brescia, Geraldo Williams, Janie Williams, Laurel Peterson, Alex Knopp, Cheryl Harris. So we have a couple of minutes we have to approve. So I'd like to make a motion to approve the July 11th minutes.
You call for a motion.
Yeah, sorry, I'd like to call for.
I saw move.
Anyone second? Laurel seconds. All in favor, any changes, edits? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, I'd like to ask for a motion to approve the September 12th meeting minutes.
I saw move.
Patsy moves. Any second, Janie seconds. Any edits or discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Is there anyone here with public comments?
No public comments.
Okay, our first item of the agenda is we have a guest with us. Vladimir Mariano is the president of the Fairfield County Makers Guild. Is that correct, President? Okay. And he is our new neighbor. So I invited Vladimir to come to this meeting to give us a little bit of background about the Fairfield County Makers Guild and maybe tell us about some of the programming that he currently has going on and have a discussion, or if anybody has any questions, that'd be great. So Cheryl, do you have anything other by way of introduction? Anything else?
No, I just like for a point of reference that we invited him.
Yeah, sorry, we invited Cheryl and I invited him.
And we love his smile. We've worked with Vladimir in the past at both libraries. So welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Cheryl and Moina, for the invite. And hi, neighbors. We've just moved in next door. So I'll talk a little bit about our history, what we do, and just sort of what our mission is. And if anyone has any questions, just feel free to jump in. So we actually go back to around 2012 is when we started. And when we started, we didn't have a space. The idea was it was myself and just a group of friends who we kind of met through sort of the maker community, which was sort of being established at that time. And we wanted a place where we can go and a place to talk about just similar interests and learn from each other. And we actually started by meeting in each other's homes where we would work on different projects. And then I reached out to the library. Chris Bradley was the president at the time, and I mentioned how I wanted to start a makerspace. And she was on board. She was excited about it, and we didn't have a space yet. So we actually, at that time, we were looking at, if we could actually start a makerspace at the library. Although there was no space there for us, we still got very involved. We were running all sorts of workshops. We started with 3D printing, and we would teach, 3D printing. We're actually the ones who kind of brought in and set up the libraries with 3D printers, trained the staff on how to use them, and I think until this day, you're still doing the programs, right? In the 3D printing programs. And we would teach design, electronics. It was all sorts of things that we would go and we would just things we were interested in, we would basically, put it on the agenda and people would show up and we would just sit down and learn together. We eventually got our own space in 2014 and we've been there for 10 years, where we've had to move this year because the landlord had different ideas of what she wanted to do with the space. So And that's when I reached out to the city of Norwalk about renting some space at 3 Belden Ave, now that redevelopment had just moved out. And so that's what we've been in the process of going through. We're still it hasn't been a quick process, but we finally we got the lease agreement, and we're still not quite set up yet. We're still waiting on a few things from the city, but the city has allowed us to continue our open nights, which is every Tuesday we get there, and the community just still meets, and we all work on our projects together. Just people kind of bring in their own stuff when we all sit around the table, and just kind of we have that sort of that community of making stuff and learning from each other. As far as a makerspace, I'll describe a little bit about what we do basically. So when we're fully set up and you come to a makerspace, what you'll see is a bunch of different tools and equipment. For example, 3D printers, laser cutters, all sorts of, you may have like a woodworking section. You usually have like sewing machines, vinyl cutters, maybe a jewelry area. It sort of encompasses everything from crafts to like tech development to anything sort of DIY. It's just a place where if you have anything you're curious about, or you want to be creative about, or just want to learn how to do, it's a place where you can get together with other people who have similar interests and who just enjoy being creative, and sharing that space with each other. So it's really what I love about it is during our open nights, if you walk in, it's really a sight to see. We always the way I love to set it up, we have this sort of big table in the middle where everyone sits, and then you'll see like one person there working on maybe a design that they're going to be 3D printing. The next person's working on an electronics project where they're writing code, and you see wires everywhere, and they're trying to get like a light to blink or something. And then you see the next person is making jewelry, and the next person is crocheting or knitting, and then someone else is working on a leather project. So it's really neat when you see all the people with just different interests, but they just have all this this love for just having that sort of community engagement and making with one another. So I think partnership with the library is, it's just, it works because I think we have similar values. The whole idea of behind the makerspaces is providing access to these resources, to education, services that promote lifetime learning and community engagement, and making them accessible to people who normally you wouldn't be able to have access to these tools, because a lot of them are pretty expensive, and maybe hard for someone to just go and buy a 3D printer or a laser cutter. But then you have this space where you can have access to it, not only access to it, but access to the education, because we run workshops where we teach how to do these things. And it's a place where you can simply pursue like your curiosities and just pursue wanting to learn something new, without the pressures of having to deliver something, so it's really neat to see people who are just like, oh, I've never tried computer programming, but let me dabble in it, see if I like it, or electronics, or sewing. So it's just and it encourages people to try new things. And some of the values that go along with a makerspace, one big one is just sharing your knowledge with one another. That's what makes it a unique space, because there's definitely a culture where, if you're working on something, someone will, or you don't know, you're not quite sure, someone may approach, or you may approach someone and say, hey, can you show me how to do this? And it goes either way. Like someone who's maybe very artistic, but they're not good in the technical stuff, that may approach someone where they're working on something that maybe lights up lights, but they don't know how to program, and they'll say, hey, can you just teach me how to write this code? Or someone would say, hey, can you teach me how to sew? And people are very willing to help each other out and learn new things. And one other thing that kind of in the subject of values in a makerspace, one thing that I've kind of always been behind is sort of the idea of removing the barriers and the friction of wanting to learn something. For example, I've been for a long time wanting to learn machining, like how to operate a metal mill. And the only options is like if you go like find a community college like Gateway, but then it's like you have to enroll in a 2-year program and get the certification, and they want to train you to be, go working in the manufacturing field. And I'm thinking, I don't I don't really want that. I don't care about the certification. I just want to I want to learn how to use the tool and use it safely to make the projects I have in my mind. Um, so that's a big part of a makerspace. So if traditional education tends to be, you focus 2 years on theory before you can even start to do the thing, or, you have to enroll in this sort of long certification program, or even, the cost of entry, where sometimes you want to learn to 3D print because for a project you want to work on, or you want to learn electronics, just to see if you'd enjoy it, or just to finish this one project. And so when we offer things like that, like our 3D printing workshop, it's a 2-hour workshop. You come in, we show you just the basics of how to get going, how to use it safely, and get you started on your first project. Same idea with our design classes we do, and pretty much anything. There's always that thing of let's just give you what you need to get started. And then that usually, encourages people. Either they're going to get excited and say, okay, I want to learn more, and we point you in the right direction. And you also are engaging with people who can kind of help you instead of just being at home, watching YouTube videos. So that's the big part. Another big part of it, sort of removing the heavy curtains that tend to be in the way, when you want to pursue something, but your only options are traditional education. So yeah, so that kind of gives the background of just a little bit of what we are and what we stand for. As far as working together, I think, I think we can talk and discuss. I think there's probably lots of opportunities here, but one thing that comes to mind right away is just sort of workshops. We have a community of members who are very knowledgeable in different things, whether, that's the technical side of it, from, teaching coding or electronics to, jewelry making, vinyl cutters. We normally have, a lot of the local libraries would call us up and say, hey, we want to do this thing. Do you have a member you can send who can do it? So I would start maybe the discussion there and how to get our members, engaged. If you're looking for more programming, we definitely have a very skilled, a group of members who would be very willing to get involved. I think we just did one actually. One member did a class on. It was like how to draw your own comics. This person's just really into comics and making comics and storytelling, and I think I'm not trying. I think it was the South Norwalk branch reached out and was like, "Hey, I saw this post and I really like it. Can you do a workshop on it?" And things that you wouldn't normally think about, but we have members that's, they'll say, hey, I like this thing. I'm sure other people might like it too. So let me just see, who out there might want to get engaged. So, we end up doing a lot of workshops that normally you don't see. In fact, one of our first workshops we had someone drive all the way from New Jersey to take it because we did this at the Darien Library. And I asked them, I said, why did you drive all the way from Jersey? And he said, there's no one else offering this kind of stuff. So we really have that access to that community that's just doing stuff no one else is doing. And then
What was it that you did at the Darien Library?
It was a workshop on the Raspberry Pi. I don't know if you're familiar with that. It's a little single board microcontroller. Yeah, this was back in 2012, and really it was very new. Pretty much many people didn't know about it, but there was definitely a community behind it. Now it's big with like teaching kids to code and but in the beginning it was like people using it for their own like personal projects, mainly adults for their like home inventions and personal projects. But yeah, it was very early with the Raspberry Pi. So yeah, I'm doing right now, like another example is the Greenwich Library reached out and they asked, they're trying this new thing. It's their first time doing it. And they're calling it a maker in residence. So basically they asked me if I would go, and it's a 12-week program where you go once a week, and they kind of had a theme around it. They said, but you get to pretty much pick the project. We wanted to involve a lot of the maker tools, like so we had to involve like 3D printing, some kind of mechanics and electronics and motion, to show some sort of STEM math, and how that comes together, and something you can show and demonstrate. And the whole idea was there's this, I pretty much go for 3 hours a week. I work on the project. I'm building it as I'm there, but it allows people to come in and just sort of pick my brain on how did you do this or do that, and I will go on and explain what I'm doing and how I approached it. And then there's a few workshops thrown in the midst too, so I'll be doing like a workshop on how to make motors move, and how I design the things I'm making. Um, so it's a kind of a pilot program, but so they're going to see how it goes, but it's sort of very informal. Like you just work and let people who are curious come in and just pick your brain on what you're doing.
That's really
Yeah, and I enjoy things like that. So I think and sort of different ideas will come, but maybe that, something like that, because we have a lot of makers who I think would be interested in something like that as well. So um, yeah, so workshops and these types of other sort of, whether it's a maker in residence or other, talks that we can do. But I definitely think there's ways we can work together, because I think it's sort of very similar mission. But if there's any questions,
Yes. I have a
yeah.
couple.
Alex has his hand up.
Mhm.
Yep, I do too.
Oh.
When he's done, when he's done, yeah.
Go ahead, Patsy.
Oh, well, one of my questions is what the demographics of the group are. Do you have students as well as adults, or?
It's mainly adults. So the idea behind the community makerspace, in order to actually join as a member, so the way it works is we have different events that are open to, the public, especially our Tuesday open nights and workshops that we do. A lot of them will say like 12 to 112. But as far as members who join, you have to be over 18 to actually, because we have a electronic key that once you join as a member, you can come anytime during, certain hours and use the equipment. So the ages tend to be 18 to, I think our oldest member is 70 something. So we were actually featured on a PBS documentary called Supercharge Your Brain. And it was about older people who are very active in things that they do. And so they came in and followed this one member who's in his 70s and is very active in the maker space. And he actually has a band and working on different projects. But yeah, it tends to be, the
Adults, okay.
demographics.
Yeah, have anybody talked to you about doing a special program for students, high school students, or to
Yeah.
reach out to them?
We actually get asked about that a lot. And normally we do have, when we do workshops, a group of like, students who will come in, but uh we don't really focus too much on the students. Once in a while we'll do things. For example, I coached a middle school robotics team through the makerspace, but our main focus is on adults. Mhm.
I know it's not your focus, but you've done a few programs at the South Norwalk Library. I remember you did the bracelet
Yeah.
thing, and the young ladies just loved having you there.
Yeah.
So yeah, so you have done some.
We do, yeah. And when we do workshops, we open them up to all ages. So, it's probably, a good portion to like half of the classes sometimes can be, the younger students. Yeah.
Thank you.
Alex? go ahead.
Yeah, so thank you, Vladimir. Programs sound very compatible with the library. Our concern initially was that this was a surprise to us from the city, and I'm glad we have this opportunity to engage in this discussion with you. Would you just remind me about the terms of the lease? Is it 2 years initially?
It's a 3-year lease. Yeah, basically a 3-year lease. I think as a condition that the city can pretty much terminate it anytime. It's not even a lease agreement, it's a license agreement, which I found out later there's a difference. But yeah, license agreement for 3 years with the option to renew for a year, I think.
Yeah. Who holds that option?
This well, we have the option. I think both parties have to agree on that.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's good.
Mhm.
As you know, we've been planning an expansion for some time and got delayed because of COVID and some other issues. So I just hope there's no bad feeling when maybe in 4 or 5 years you need to move again. We have in the current plan for the library expansion a
Mhm.
makerspace space. So, you know, one possibility is you just move into that space in the expanded library.
Yeah.
I just hope that your members are aware that there is an expansion that may require demolition of 3 Belden. We don't want that to be a surprise or a feeling that somehow you've not been respected or
Mhm.
your work isn't very valuable.
Mhm. No, yeah, we're fully aware that the whole plan is for the library expansion. So we know to be prepared in 3 years to,
Good.
yeah,
Thank you.
yeah.
And
That's
good
great.
luck.
Thank you.
Uh, Vladimir, could you remind us again about like when the space is open, when you're not, when you have programs,
Hmm.
and like maybe what you're thinking of when you move in there more, per, you know, more full time.
Yeah, so we're fully volunteer run right now. I mean, we'd love to get to a place where we can actually have, maybe some staffed hours. But the way it works, once we get fully running, when members join, they basically get an electronic key, and you can come in anytime during the hours that we have agreed to. And it's pretty much going to be 7 in the morning till 11 at night. Our previous place, we actually had 24-hour access. This place, I kind of chose to like limit it, to those hours. So besides that, our open nights, we hold the once a week open night, which is open to everyone. Those go from 6:30 to 9:30. Usually we're there to like 10 o'clock at night. That's just kind of anyone can come in, walk in, bring a project and or get help with their project, and we're there. So that's sort of our only structured hours is the Tuesdays, 6:30 to 10. And then besides that, once we actually get started with workshops, those will be posted to the schedule. And those would normally, because we cater mainly to adults, they tend to happen like they'll happen after work, like 6, maybe usually like weekdays after 6, and then sometimes like Saturday mornings, we'll do workshops as well, or sometimes, so usually evenings in the daytimes, and then, weekends, it could be any time. But that's sort of what we do. And then there's actually an agreement with the city of Norwalk, for us to actually to get the lease that we have, we had to agree to do or just part like in addition to paying rent, on the building, we agreed to do basically it comes out to 5 events a year. So I mean, sorry, 5 events a month are including our weekly open nights, which is open to everyone, plus one sort of structured workshop and a month that we would make it open. Because normally our workshops are paid workshops. Our members would run them. So we would advertise them, and then people would like sign up through the website, pay and join. But we're making one of those a month free.
Mm,
Mhm.
that's cool. Well, I was impressed because you had quite a turnout at the Common Council meeting of your very passionate, loyal fellow makers, and it was great to see people so engaged in in their in that hobby. So, Geraldo, I saw your hand up. Sorry, you're muted, Geraldo.
Do you guys have a
Uh,
thank you. Hi, Vladimir.
Hello.
Do you guys have a membership fee or require the members to contribute something?
Yeah, so our membership fee is $50 a month, and that's a fee we've kept the same since we opened in 2014, and just always kept it at 50. But yeah, $50 a month, and you get access to the space.
And do you do anything to like background check or something to determine, if you have a risk with anybody or you just assume that everybody's good?
Yeah, yeah, we're uh, it's kind of it's been to answer your question. No, we don't do background
Okay.
checks. Um, yeah, we've been quite a bit trusting with our members, and it's kind of one of those things. Yeah, like people think like you, okay, you're crazy. You just allow anyone in, and you kind of give them a key to the space. Um, yeah, we've been doing that for 10 years, and we haven't had an issue. People join, and we it's the nature of maker spaces, but it was only the only way we could make it work, kind of with what we were trying to do, with basically having no budget and no staff and just being volunteer run. Like, we can't have someone being there the entire time to kind of make sure someone doesn't do anything bad. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's worked out. We require training on certain equipment, so we make sure people just can't come in and start using equipment without knowing how to use it. But as far as having anyone that's been a problem or anything, it's no. Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
I'm impressed. Very good. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Are there any final questions? Thanks, Vladimir. Thank you so much. And
Yeah, thank you.
I'm sure people from the library will be in touch with you. So,
Okay, great. Yeah, thank you for having me.
Thank you.
thanks.
Enjoy the
Bye.
rest of the night. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Okay. So, I just wanted to make sure everybody was aware that one of our main contacts at the library, the Chief of Economic Development, Jessica Vonacek, is leaving has left the city. And she really helped shepherd through a lot of things for the library. So, we're grateful to her. And this, of course, does bring up a question who, especially for kind of the library expansion, renovation project, we're at this point right now where we need to get an architect. So Sherelle and I will be reaching out to the mayor's office to kind of figure out next steps and how to keep things moving. I know, there'll be there's a search going on right now for her position. Will her position still be our contact? So we'll be reaching out and hopefully bringing the board, and we'll be bringing the board into that conversation. So are there any questions about that? Okay, so the second thing here is that on September 26th, the Common Council voted to begin its second phase of kind of the ordinance review, the city ordinance review. They have they selected 9 members. I think they're all new to the committee. I'm not sure if there's any repeats.
You mean charter revision?
The charter
Yeah.
charter
It's-
revision ordinance, yeah.
No,
review.
well, there's a distinction. It's charter revision.
But are they not looking at the ordinances? I thought that they were looking at the ordinances.
I believe that, check it out, but my understanding is that it's Charter Revision Commission. They can be doing both, but
Okay,
Yeah, they could do ordinance revisions anytime. They can only revise the charter with a
with
charter
a special commission.
okay.
set
So
up,
pardon me?
set up by state law.
Oh, okay. So the second phase has begun. They were officially voted in on September 26th, and they are going to be presenting their recommendations in May of 2025. So I thought this would be a good time to reconvene our governance committee to kind of look at our charter and the ordinances together. There are some outstanding questions about the efficiency report, things that the efficiency report brought up, and there may be some things that are just out of date. So if I recall correctly, our governance committee is Laurel, Alex, and Janie. I think Patsy, you know, since you were part of the charter revision committee, you might have some insight on this as well. But so I will I'll get together all the materials and let's have a let's start a conversation on that. And then we've Harald, do you want to take this part about the cafe? We've been in touch with Sharon Connors over in purchasing, so.
Yeah, we reached out, and thanks Sherelle for initiating that, but reach out to Sharon about having a pre-RFP session, a community meeting to make folks aware of the RFP. And she has agreed. She said that she will have to be the initiator, the person that runs the meeting, which worked for us too. That's what we were looking for. So I think the next thing would be for us to decide, which would be critical, is when do we want to post this? There'd be some discussion or some concepts about doing it, whether we should do it after the beginning of the year, or, you know, just proceed with it now. Moyna, I don't know if you think that's something you would turn to the group to get a vote on that, and how we would, you know, what we should do. Look at.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think a discussion, we could discuss timing on that. And Alex.
Yeah, so Gerardo, as I understand it, this is outreach to potential vendors.
So it's what we look forward to is what I'd spoken about in the last meeting too, is like a pre-RFP meeting, which is something that's often done, that you make people that would bid on the RFP have an opportunity to come in and ask questions and get some more information about what's involved.
Right,
And,
so potential vendors.
yeah, potential vendors. One of the things that Sharon has mentioned, and we were discussing doing the same thing, so it was good to see that we could go to different agencies and organizations within the area or within the city, even like the Chamber of Commerce, to make them aware of this, to see if they have members or they're aware of potential bidders that would be interested in operating the cafe.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. I have to express a little frustration that every step seems to take 4 or 5 months. This thing is dragged on much too long. We should remember that patrons expressed this as the number 1 or 2 item they wanted. And so as long as we don't have it, we're not fulfilling the desires of our patrons. So I think we should have this meeting as soon as possible, because after the meeting, there'll still be another 60-day period for people to, you know, publish the RFP and review it and submit, hopefully, some proposals. So let's do it as soon as we can.
And the good thing is to that though, Alex, is that the RFP is the RFP. So we're being in agreement that at least the status that it is and how it appears right now is good. So it's more, how do we start the process and get people to bid on this? I'm interested.
Yeah, one of the things that we have now that we sort of didn't have nailed down in the past was, you know, based on this lease with the makerspace, we're talking, you know, at least 2 or 3 years before construction starts. So that's important information to a vendor.
Yeah.
And so again, I would urge us to have Sharon do it as soon as she can.
Patsy?
Yeah, I think it's wise to move quickly because of just how the flow of the city's capital budget goes. And, you know, once we get through, you know, October, November, December, then other people sort of get ready to get their bidding out, and Sharon's department purchasing gets very busy. So I think the sooner we can get that rolling, the better.
And the one thing that I just wanted to add is that Sharon has forwarded the email to the
Okay.
Director of Business Development and Tourism. And she's also gonna, and she has like, you know, kind of
Okay.
To be a
deep
participant.
connections into the business community in Norwalk. So she's also going to be helping us promote this as well.
Is that Sabrina?
It's Sabrina.
Sabrina,
Yes.
yeah.
Okay.
Cheryl, you got a comment?
No, I was, can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay. No, I was just saying it was Sabrina that
Yeah.
she shared the email with.
Yeah. And I just want to say I hear you, Alex, about, you know, but I mean, we have put the RFP out, you know, I think, you know, no one responded, even though there was a fair amount of like at least social media publicity. And I think we're just kind of in a phase 2 right now of doing some more kind of real on the ground solicitations of specific places and things. So hopefully this push will yield some results.
I think I'm hearing that at least there's some suggestion that we move forward. From our end, there's nothing that we're doing to hold it up. You know, the main thing we were looking forward to knowing if the city was gonna be interested in doing something like this, because the main thing we lacked before was really getting interested bidders. We went through the process, we, you know, looked at the content of the RFP and different way to present that, but we didn't even get one bidder last time, I think. Even from the response that the city has gotten, has provided, they've spoken about doing things like making us more visible within their social media announcements, etc. Okay.
Okay. Sherelle?
Yes, ma'am. Good evening,
To you.
everyone. Can everyone hear me?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, so I will begin with our last fiscal year budget rollover request. And I'm just going to share the screen. Okay, so most of our rollover requests went to grounds because there's just a lot of things that we need to take care of as far as grounds. There's the parking lots that need to be striped. We need the directional signage. We also need signage alerting where our parking is. We also had discussed, and I guess I know it's been an issue at least for the last 10 or so years, the fence between the 3 Belden and the 1 Belden parcels, you know, trying to remove that fence and then addressing the egress and the grading issues. So I'll begin with the grounds issue. So we were in a bit of a deficit. We had the contractual agreement with the Eagles for the spaces that we're leasing, but though we requested it, there wasn't enough to begin in that particular budget. So we had to transfer money into that account to cover the leasing agreement, which was $12,600, and that left us with $2,400 for the full year. So we just requested that $7,400 be rolled over into the grounds account, and that would, you know, help us cover, you know, the things like leaf bags, any equipment we need to help us run our snow blowers or our leaf blowers and things like that. We also had money left over in our machinery and equipment budget. And so
Can you move the screen up? I only have half of the. Okay, thanks. Yeah,
Okay. Okay, so the machinery and equipment, we requested to roll that over into grounds. We had other contractual agreement. So pest control, we had a major issue with mosquitoes this year. Like, it was just horrendous. And so that budget is really tight. We were supposed to have a service last fiscal year, but because it rained, it didn't take place until the new fiscal year. So that bill didn't come out until after the new fiscal year. Because the budget is tight, we're asking to roll this amount over so that we don't end up having to transfer in at the end of this particular fiscal year. Operating and supplies, same thing. That budget is very tight. Our refrigerator basically just stopped working, and we ordered it during the old fiscal year, but it didn't come in until the new fiscal year, and it was billed then. So we just want to pay that so that we have to have that rolled over, excuse me, so that we don't run into a crisis at the end of the year, because prices for supplies and things, everything just keeps going up. Our audio visual equipment, because Sono was closed, we thought it would be closed for 3 or 4 months. It ended up being closed for 9 months, and we didn't order as much audio visual. So we're also asking to have that rolled over into grounds as well. And finally, our book budget. As you know, we tragically lost our accounts clerk last October. So when the new person, and finance was wonderful, but it's nothing like having your own person in, just sort of watching, the account. So when she came in, she cleaned up, a lot of things between Dawn's departure and her arrival. So we needed to make sure, see exactly where the money was before we started ordering again. And we had some requests from the previous fiscal year that we really didn't order until August. So we're asking to roll that over, just so we don't run into the same issue at the end of this fiscal year, being put in a deficit. So basically, some things are just so that, our budgets won't be in a deficit, but the others were so we can handle grounds like the E-grade issues between 3 Belden and 1 Belden. Neil has started cleaning up all the weeds and things like that needed to go, so he can get fence removal quotes, and so he can get somebody out to give us, a quote to address the E-grade issue, the egress issue. So also I've been in close contact with parking authority. So they've promised that they're going to have the quote for us soon, and that's going to include the striping and things like that. The signage. One thing that I didn't mention is that the parking authority, they're also in control of the Wall Street renewal project. And so they've been given the spots on the 3 Belden side, the parking along the fence. So it may be an issue of we just have like a small portion where people can get through. I'm not sure if we're going to be able to have the full fence removed at this point. So Neil and Brian and I are going to speak, so we sort of know what's going to happen, when it's going to happen, and what we can do to make the 3 Belden lot accessible, to the library, so people don't have to walk around. Go ahead. Anybody have a question?
Yeah, I have, I had wanted to talk about that issue because I saw a diagram that everything along that fence line was going to be earmarked for the Wall Street project, which probably will be at least 18 months, 2 years. And I'm assuming that, I don't know, but that concerns me. I don't think, I think we need to discuss that with the city, because it would be better if our parking spaces were there and they were on the other side of the parking lot. And is it for parking or is it for construction?
No, it's for their materials.
Well, for material, that's a huge issue. And I don't think, I think we've got to reach out to the city and talk about this. I don't think it's to the benefit of the library.
Okay. And then one other thing, we've been talking about the trees,
Yeah.
being
Yeah,
trimmed.
but on that, we have to do it immediately.
Sure.
Okay. And then the other question I had is, with the 7,400 for grounds, outdoor stuff. And as you know, I have been concerned about how the front of the library property looks. And so has it been resolved? Who is going to spruce that place up and keep it mowed and addressed?
So our guys are working on it now. As a matter of fact, Michael just finished doing a lot of the leaf and that. So that's what I wanted to get to. So they want to outsource that sort of thing. I guess DPW is not going to handle it. Neil has provided a quote for grounds work. I think it was 15,000 per year. So, but yeah, the city wants to outsource that work. So I did email Neil to let them know, and just by way of letting you all know too, that the rollovers all were granted so that he can get started, with the quotes for the egress. And we can figure out what the city is going to do as far as our parking lots being plowed in the winter, both of them. There was a point where maybe a few years ago, there was another person at the helm. When we mentioned that we are a city department and we should not have to pay, to have our grounds, to have our parking lots plowed, he added people. And they did a good job. It's a different story now, so the city wants to outsource.
Sherelle, is
But
that,
Sherelle, I don't think you really answered what question is this 7,400, can that be used for cleaning up around the now?
Actually, I did answer your question. All of this is going into one pot, and that is what's going to be used to help with the outsourcing. The people who will come over and help manicure the lawn. We have to determine whether it will be weekly, monthly, but all the money that's going into that pot will go toward grounds. So as I mentioned, they do want to outsource. So now we just have to figure out with Neil who that company is and what the how it's going to be carried out. Again, whether it's weekly, whether it's monthly, but yes, to answer your question, all of the money that's going into that pot, yes, all of it will be used, whether it's for grounds, whether it's for addressing the egress, whether it's for addressing the striping.
Sherelle, one more question. The 15,000, that's annually, or are we doing catch-up work?
So for now, it would be catch-up work.
Okay,
According to Lamond, the city will be adding that to our budget. So
Okay.
that,
Okay,
yeah, for next year, for the next budget cycle. So
okay,
we will
super.
play catch-up because we just need to do something. We can't keep waiting. We need to do something. So this was my way of seeing if we can just start addressing the grounds now. And then they will give us the 15,000 to add to our budget for next year for grounds.
All right,
Okay.
super.
Do we not, we have to go out and find something. Doesn't the city have so many vendors that are taking care of different grounds? Like the city hall grounds look beautiful, and do we have to go out and find our
No,
own vendor?
Neil is gonna help us. Neil basically gave us the quote,
Mhm.
and so he will help us find a vendor. Neil is with Guardian, if anybody needs to know. So I'm sure they have plenty of people in their coffers.
Okay. So when is that expected? Like, when is that,
So I did email him just to let him know that, the money was approved, so we just have to figure that out. Brian and I are trying to schedule a meeting that works well. And Moina, you're more than happy, or anybody's happy, you're more than welcome to join. But just to figure out what's happening with the 3-building parcel and what we can and cannot do. And Moina, I guess, to Patsy's point, we should get together and address a letter.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
gotta move quickly because
So-
I don't know how
sorry.
long that's been out there.
Patsy, have you, so where did
Uh,
you see that? Was that in a document that?
I don't know where I saw it.
I was the one
I
that
just,
mentioned it because Brian was kind enough to give me the heads up.
okay.
So I
But
sent
it's
it all
it's
over
right
the-
along the fence, and that's
Correct.
exactly, we've been
That's,
working
yeah,
on
that, I
it.
mean, that like defeats the purpose of taking
It's
down
exactly.
and try, and,
what-
and our, yeah, our intention
Yeah.
of trying to connect spaces.
and
So-
it will be a construction yard, it's not appropriate. We've got to challenge it.
Okay. Any other questions on the rollover? Okay. So, just an update on on this current, or the last fiscal year capital budget projects. So we, in the previous, fiscal year, we upgraded the alarm system for the main library. This year, it will be the Sono library, so both, we'll have both alarm systems upgraded and with one company. Right now, we're dealing with two companies. Neil said that the alarm should be in place by the end of this month or the beginning of the next month. The sliding door project, so we have the sliding door on the north entrance, and then once you get in, there's like that door that you have to pull open and it just looks disgusting. They've already gotten vendors out. They've had two vendors so far. One vendor came out this morning, so we should have something in place by not the work, but just kind of know what we're doing, what the scope is, and how long it's going to take, hopefully by next week.
That's great.
Yeah, that's awesome. So those are the two that he's moving on right now. So any questions on that?
What about the the walkthrough that we did in the other small projects that we identified, like painting the wall and downstairs and the main library and power washing the outside of the
He
building.
did do the power washing, so most of the things, he addressed most of the things. Only thing from his list that I've not heard of was that the roof issue, I forget what it's called, but it's when you actually brought it up, Patsy.
Yeah,
That
it's the fascia
Yeah.
and soffits. You said they power washed?
they did power wash both buildings, yes.
When?
The exterior, almost a week or two right after we mentioned it.
Yeah, it was in the summer. I remember, yeah. So- and it actually does look better. So, so,
I took some pictures recently. I didn't think it looked
You didn't think
wonderful.
it looked-
On the west elevation.
We can have a look. It could be maybe it wouldn't come out, but I can ask him again.
Maybe you should do a walkthrough with them.
I
Yeah.
walk that building like every day, whether it's for mosquitoes, whether it's for weeds, whether it's for, I am around that building all the time. And it could be something maybe I was just used to seeing, so maybe it just kind of escaped me, but I'll have a look again.
yeah,
Sure.
you put together a pretty good list, a pretty extensive list,
Yes.
after that walkthrough. So it would be worthwhile just going through just down that list again too, so.
Yep,
Sure. A question
yes.
regarding the mosquitoes, did you agree to have that treated now or you saying they're moving that to sometime later?
So, in one of our meetings with the mayor, the health department, director actually mentioned it. I guess it's an issue across the city. So I did ask her, she was talking about doing larvicide next year, early on. So I asked her to make sure that the library was included. I mean, it was horrendous. We were getting bit, constantly in the library. And, we sort of know that they're gonna be on the first floor because you have those two doors, the openings. And usually it's right near the CERC. But it got to the point where the reference people were complaining, the people in the basement were complaining, my floor was horrible, and the children's floor. So it was pretty bad. And we have regular pest control that comes, once a month. But we also, we had them come last year too, but probably more so this year. We had to have their expert come out because whatever they were doing just was not working. So they sent someone out and they were able to identify that the major source was coming from the 3 Belden building that faces the library. There's a drain right there and it wasn't pitched, so the water was just
Settling.
settling. So Neil's crew did come and they did pitch it so that it actually drained, but it was still bad. And so I just think once we start getting regular lawn care, I think we'll be fine because the guys cut back the rose bushes and they just swarmed out. It was just not a good year.
After our meeting last week, you had mentioned that, and I sat out there by the benches to see the new furniture in the back, and there were a lot of mosquitoes. I had to leave. So
It was horrendous. It was absolutely, and I just, I felt awful. I mean, patrons were complaining, but our staff, you couldn't even work.
Yeah.
I came in for a half an hour one day and I got bit twice on the arm and once on just in that half hour and once on my ankle. It was just bad.
I had about 10 on just my hands. I had to leave. So,
Yeah, it was
I know
horrible.
what you're saying.
So we're hoping, when the health department does the larvicide, that will help. And by then, hopefully we should have the regular lawn care. So they're cutting back the things that don't need to be there, so they have no place to, populate. But it was bad. I'll see you tomorrow at 8. Sorry, somebody was saying goodbye. Yeah, so any other questions? Okay. Poet laureate, just an update. We did similar, almost similar to our cafe project. We put out the call and we received 2 applicants. We extended the date to October 30th. So we're hoping to make the announcement at the first of the year. So, and I believe Laurel, you guys had what, maybe 4 more?
Did we? I thought we had 3
Was it 3?
total. There was a man and a young woman, and then I think we had somebody with an incomplete file, didn't we? And
I thought, yeah, Cindy said that you had put out the call and like others had applied to, no?
I got 1.
Okay,
I only got 1.
okay. Well, I think, at this point, we just, whatever we get by October.
We go with it.
We just move forward. Yeah,
At least one of the candidates is good. I know her.
yeah,
So
all right.
we'll get some.
For sure. And it was great. Bill, if you're listening, thank you for extending your term. We appreciate you. Bill is our current poet laureate. Passport service. I feel like I just keep talking about passport service. We had a walkthrough. They ended up canceling for whatever reason. The new date is now, they're going to do the walkthrough of the facilities on, I know it's the end of October, and then if they have to cancel again, their makeup date is November 6th. So basically what they do is they walk through, they make sure everything is okay. Last time they did it, they actually, they did a passport day with us, so they could walk the passport agents through they could see how things are going. Some of our folks said now they need a refresher. So I'm asking them to get the refresher now so that by the time, the passport, once they approve us, that we're just ready to go. So,
Does this happen at both libraries? It used to happen at South Norwalk too, right?
correct. It is happening at both libraries.
Okay, good.
Yeah. And then just with the main library parking lots, I'm still waiting for the parking authority to provide the quotes. So, I mean, they've been responsive, to all of the emails. They know what we need. So right now it's just a matter of providing the quotes. for the striping, for the signage, and for the things that I identified in that list that I sent out. I'm sorry, Moya.
I'm sorry. Are you working with Rocky and the parking authority, or are you working with Brian no, you're
They're
working with
both
both. Okay,
working with the same people that we did the walkthrough with.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Patsy.
But mainly Brian has been
Sorry.
the person that's sort of answering the emails and that sort of thing.
But he's not from the parking authority. Anyway, Patsy, go ahead.
What, where are we with the furniture for, the main library,
Um,
the lounge furniture?
right, so I sent you all a list of things. We had to just start over. The people weren't giving us what we needed, but we finally found a group called Agati, who basically has the design and what we need. So you'll see there should be an email that has a bunch of links with different options of furniture. So there's some with the lounge chairs. It's a very small space, so they, sort of walking us through the same process that Silver Petroselli walked us through. I'm waiting for Cindy's group. Cindy's been off for a couple of days, but for her crew to weigh in. So
But this has to go through the city purchasing,
mhm.
correct? And has the city
Unless it's a sole source. If it's
What?
sole source, if it's a sole source, like a vendor that the city uses,
Yeah.
then we don't have to.
But have they submitted options? We haven't gone out to bid.
Not yet. Yeah.
What's the anticipated,
As soon as Cindy's crew, because it's her department, so as soon as her crew weighs in and we sort of put the design together at that point, just to kind of know what sort of furniture we're looking for. At that point, we will go out. And if we have to do a sole source, we may just have to do a sole source.
yeah, but we looked at it and we had some comments, and so Cindy's
Yeah.
department hasn't followed up on it. I'm
Yeah.
lost to where we are with this.
Yeah. We're looking at another vendor, basically.
So, it sounds like you're very much in process of trying to come up with a design
nice
or a couple
design.
of designs with,
Something that we
based
can
on
send
our
to you.
feedback, based on,
Right.
go ahead.
Yeah,
And
basically
Cindy's
something we
team.
can present to you. So we're looking to be able to present at least 3 options in 3D format, so you can see like with the rug, like we told them, we really want to pick up the gold inflections in the rug. So I don't know, I'm not gonna say it'll be a month. They know our timeline. So we're hoping within a month, but we'll see. But in the meantime, we don't have to wait for the board meetings. I can send whatever they send in advance so that we can talk about it at the next meeting.
Well, it would be good to have that committed before we go to the city for a new budget and they say, why did it take
Sure.
you so long to get this, you've had this money allocated, so we need to move on it,
I understand.
okay?
That's pretty much it for me. Just under old business, the main library partitions have been repaired. Neil did take that out of his budget, so now, we can have the room used, we can do the 3/4 and the 1/4 as opposed to not just having the one big room. So that's repaired, which is a great thing.
Yeah, that's good. I just have one thing. Oh, sorry, go ahead, Patsy.
I have one thing that's on my mind, and that is the upcoming election and the voting location, I believe, is going to be Jefferson School and not the library.
Correct.
And I would hope that we could put a sign out front to tell people that it's not at the library, it's at Jefferson, because otherwise people are gonna be really inconvenienced, and I know they're gonna get notices and the rest of it, but people do things by habit, and we should be encouraging everybody to be able to find their way to their voting place. So can we do that?
We can.
Okay, good, yeah.
Alex?
Yeah, let me just say, I think that's a good suggestion from Patsy. And if anybody thinks that elderly voters are going to have an easier time at Jefferson than they would have at the library, they are sadly mistaken. The parking lot at Jefferson, as you know, is across the road, up a hill. It's much more difficult, and I'm sort of a little disappointed that we didn't have more consultation with the registrars to see whether or not we could have made some adjustments at the main branch to accommodate voting, because Jefferson is, from my recollection, pre-construction, is much more difficult for people with disabilities and seniors because the parking arrangements weren't adjusted during
Yeah.
the construction. So I'm disappointed that we didn't have a longer period of discussion with the registrars, because I still think the library is a better site.
Well, I don't think they discussed it with us, and that
No,
is my
no,
voting place.
Yeah,
So,
I understand.
I'm really concerned.
Yeah. Well, if you want any help walking up the hill, give me a call and I'll escort you up to vote.
Do you have a wheelchair?
Don't you park down and then go in? I mean, it's pretty close, right? Like you park
Well,
the
Across
time
the
that I've
road.
been to Jefferson.
no, it's on the old
On the
tennis
big
court
impact.
Hill.
area.
It's across the road. And we expect people like Patsy to vote early and often, so it's a
No, well,
strain.
no, I don't vote often, but I do vote early.
Oh, okay.
You don't vote often. You just decide which one you're gonna. Oh, well,
Yeah, but we really need to have some good signage, out front to help them.
Yep, got it. We can probably do something on social media too.
No.
Okey doke, that's it for me.
I just wanted to just follow up on one thing regarding the cafe. I know there were a couple of people who recommended that we get started right away, and I just want to make sure that we have consensus on that. Yeah,
Yep, I am in favor of moving it quickly.
okay. I mean, I don't think we need to take a vote.
Does anybody,
Just, just want to make sure that everybody is in, kind of, we have consensus on that as we move forward. So, okay.
is there anyone that has any negative opinion about moving forward? Okay, good. Thank you.
Okay, so can I get a motion to adjourn?
I so moved.
Barry and I don't know, Alex, seconds, all in favor. See you over in the foundation meeting.
Thank you.